my name's Ralph and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be digging into the electrical stuff. So the first thing we have to do is take these controls off, and I have to cut the wire of the two orange whites that are joined up here to make separate lines going down to the front. So we've got to take all this apart, try to feed some of the wire back up through, and figure out how I'm going to drag another wire all the way down through without hopefully having to pull the whole wiring right out of the handlebars. So we'll get at it and see what we can do. So we're just disconnecting some of the things some of the parts that are in here. And I'm probably going to have to take that right off. There. Now somewhere here, so as you can see here, these two orange-white wires, which are power for a turn signal and power for our horn up here, are joined together on the 96 and up. But because of the system that we got going, we've got to run two separate wires down through. So I'm going to try to figure out the easiest way to do that, and hopefully be able to pull one straight through. I think what I'm going to do is cut this, solder to the end of it, and I'll probably pull two of them down through. I'll have to distinguish which is which and mark them such so that I know, with maybe with a mark or something on the end, so I know. But then I should be able to pull it all the way down through this sheathing, which is fairly loose, without having to drag everything all the way up through. So I guess the first thing to do is get some wire. So what I'm going to do is cut this wire here, and we'll cut it there. This is just the one we have at the moment going through. I'll know that the orange one is for our signal lights and the orange white is for the horn, or vice versa, whichever way I decide to do it once I hook it up. We're just going to crush it down there a little bit so that we hopefully don't have any ends that are too sharp that we'll want to dig into the sheathing. We'll just put a little wrap of black tape around it. And that way it should pull through without hanging up in the fiber of this cloth. All right, now we're going to try and feed that through, taking our time and pulling up front under the fairing. And there, we're through up front where we want to be. Shrink wrap on there, and we're going to run the orange white to our turn signal so it's consistent throughout. It's going to go to the horn. Just crush things down a little. There's nothing sticking out. Slide our shrink wrap over. Made sure to fit the edge of this down over the grip. That's what holds it into place. There's a small little cutout in the bottom of this here. There's a small little cutout, and that fits into a little tab that's on that there. So you gotta make sure that you have that in place. All right. So that's all through there without much fuss. So we're going to go over and do the other side and do the same thing, because that worked really good. And then we'll get working up front and get at the meat and potatoes of it. So we're going to do the same thing to this one as we did to the other side. These two. Once again, we'll hook our orange white, there we go, orange white to our signal light. Sure, everything's as it should be. There we go. These are all fitted tight together. And we'll have to adjust our cables up after when we're getting ready to start it and get it set up. But we'll just kind of move them out here for now. That's about got our handlebar controls in place where we want to put them now. And we have separate wires running for each one, which is what the new controller box is asking for, separate controls for them. So now we've got them wired up to the front and these are done. Now we can go up front and start working on that. So we're going to start by disconnecting some of this. I'm going to get rid of this whole panel because I can't see how this will stay dry. All right. Pouring rain, oh, to hear that train. There she comes. Just get on. So I'm just going to go along and do the rest of these and get these 8-pin done on this side, and then I'm just waiting for some plugs and we'll go ahead and get at the other side. So one step at a time, but we're getting there. That's one side. Watch the trees, falling leaves, like the breeze, won't you blow on? I'ma pack my grip, one more trip, and I'ma move on. All right, we'll be able to tie this up. So we get the blues tied in, and we'll get rid of this panel. So these wires are coming back from the harness from the rear, and we're going to hook these into the handlebar ones. Would have liked to have more cable, but it is what it is. It's all we have. Across the track, don't look back. All the jack, won't you roll on? City lights, what blinds your eyes? Don't look twice, won't you go on? So we're just going to go along and tidy these all up, but when I get this side done, I'll let you have a look and see what it looks like. So now we start to insert our pins following our colors. The white. So we'll make sure that all our pins are in place. You can see that there's one out here. There we go. And there, we're locked in there now. Just didn't want to go for some reason. So now we'll take off our other side, our handlebar side. Stick these screws back in. comes a time where there's a use and a different application for them, it'd be hard to get these little screws. Go along and just touch them all back in, and then I'll have them for another application perhaps. Now we've got these ones all done up to the right hand side, and they're ready to go into their places. Put our lock in, and there we go. Those pins are all locked in. Okay, now we'll go along and undo the corresponding ones for this side. All right, so we'll start stripping those for the other side. And these ones you have to be careful that you don't get too long on the end, because they'll stick up inside of the female plug too far, and then you won't be able to push the point of the other one down inside. So now we've got all our ends put on. So we're just going to slide this into place because it only goes in one way. Sure, everything's back in place. Lock in. There we go. Yes. Okay, it should be these green wires. 7 wires out of there. I think the green and the yellow will go back in here. So, got a few of these to tidy up. So I see by the oil light here, and we have to remember that power goes the other way in the oil light system. The orange, so we put the orange live wire through here, and when this one comes across through the green yellow, when it grounds out, it causes the oil light to go out. So we know that we need power from the orange to that one. That's where it's going, the orange, and we have this green yellow back here, green with yellow stripe. So sometimes wiring can be a little bit tedious at times. I find if you go to the book and you follow where it's coming and going to, you can generally get a pretty good idea. There's only so many wires there. Generally your orange wires are powered ones in these cases. You don't always know, but that's what your wiring diagrams are there for. So relate back to them and just take a while, and it won't take you long. You'll be able to trace stuff back and say that, oh, that's going to a power, or oh, that's going to a ground, or it actually has got to be the other way, like an oil switch, and it's not powered just to the switch, it's backwards the other way. But when you start looking at the diagrams, it'll give you a better idea of where you're coming to and going. So they're a good idea to follow up on. So we test some of these on the black ground there. Yeah, I got a green there. My high beam. The oil switch. Green to ground, so we need orange to power, and green to ground, and I'll run our oil switch. The tan, which again is probably to a neutral, and I don't know if it's working on this particular unit anyway, but that may not be working. Something in this unit wasn't working. I'll check it on my other unit over there. So it's going to help us with this project, so we're going to go ahead and do some tests on the bike. Okay, we're hoping that our gauge up here is working. So we're going to try some wires. So we got our battery hooked up here. We're going to get our negatives on there. See if we can get anything. All right, start with the obvious, I guess. Signal light. Signal light, and I believe the orange is our high beam light, and we're getting that. The other two, the right signal should be the brown, right signal, left signal, purple. The white should be the high beam. Now, because the other issues are grounded out, we have to change our strategy a little bit. We're going to take off this ground, and I'm going to hook it to the green wire here. Now if I hook to the power wire, and there's our oil light. Okay, because it works opposite. Right now it's grounded. When the pressure goes up, it breaks the ground. So this is the power to it. And knowing that, we should be able to take our orange and tan, and that gives us our neutral light right there. So neutral light. And there's our oil light. White is the high beam, the left signal, and the brown for the right. So now we can tell that we've got all our plug wires straightened out for our little mini gauge up here, and we have a separate line from the Ultima unit, which I bought a separate harness to light up these gauges. So I mean, they're not a necessary thing. A lot of us don't have gauges on here, but if it's in here and it's in the fairing, I feel that it should work. So other than figuring out the wiring here to where to go, now I can go up front and hook them up into the places they're supposed to go, and everything should go okay. We're working away at the wiring here, and we're starting to get things tidied up, and I got a lot of components that are working now. So it seems to be that our box is in there and it's wired right. Now there's a few things that I still don't have, and I'm going to run a live ground all the way from here all the way to the back to the battery, so that I have a good ground. You need that, especially for your tachometer, etc. There's no fooling around with that. So a lot of people ground it up here, but if you ground it up here, then it's trying to arc through the neck bearings, and that's what's trying to make your ground on the bearings and the grease, and we don't want that happening. So I'm going to run a separate one all the way back. So we're just going to go along here and keep tidying things up. We've installed a little breaker here, and we put this in so that we can junction off of this auxiliary wire. We're going to take our power from here to here, and this will drive our front lights and some things like that. And any power that's required, we can use it there. So right now, I'm just going to deal with a bit of the grounds. I'm going to put a jumper off of here and get that complete to go up in here. And we have to work with our other signal light wire here that I'm running across, our running light on your signal light. So those are some of the things we still have to do. fire it up, once I put my jumper wire over from here to here, that should give me my driving lights and all the others. The next thing I have to do is get my grounds together here, this ground, and work with my grounds that I want. Have a terminal, a center spot to hook to, because there'll be quite a few of them. We're going to go ahead and get some of our grounds done up and cleaned up a little bit more here, and we'll get back. Hours to go before I sleep. All right, check back.